This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Port Orford Planning Commission, December 5th, 2023 to order. We'll call the roll. Commissioner Lawton,
Here.
Commissioner Berndt,
Here.
Commissioner Lovendall,
Here.
Commissioner Head,
Here.
Commissioner Thielen is present. I would like to let everyone know there is a city council meeting at 5:30. So I'm hoping we can really focus closely on this public hearing and in time for the meeting to begin at 5:30. In meetings in this room. Are there any public comments on the agenda items, and not including the hearing? If anyone online has comments on the hearing, that will be happening in just a few moments. But if there's anything else, yes, Joseph.
In addition to the city council meeting tonight at 5:30, apparently there's also a port meeting that's supposed to be in this room at 4. So if we can,
4.
yeah, I don't think we're going to be done in there, but if we can hopefully get done so that they aren't starting too late. Sorry about this. It's been kind of they need to use the broadcasting equipment.
Okay. Well, we'll do what we can do.
All right. Sorry about that.
Thank you. If
It isn't? All right.
we'll have to hold for a moment for technical
Can we
difficulties.
switch to Thursday?
I know. Yeah. No, I mean, I think this meeting takes precedent over the court.
Push us out of this.
And then we can't, because this is our scheduled.
Maybe the porch?
Yeah,
It's gonna have to.
public hearing. It's our scheduled time to be here, so. I have a question. I had a comment come to me via text from a neighbor.
Can we use your microphone, please?
Oh, sorry. I had a comment come to me via text from a neighbor who has shown interest in this. It pertains to the hearing. I'm just not sure when I would read it. Maybe public comment for the hearing, or,
I think we save it for the hearing.
okay,
Anything to do with the
Yeah.
hearing has to be within the hearing.
okay. I don't think he's actually trying to attend the meeting, but I know that he watches them after the fact, so.
They'll have a chance to speak if they want to speak during the meeting.
Yeah, I don't think he's attending, but he's asking,
So you would speak on?
I would speak on his behalf, yes, yeah, if that's possible.
So
I
Greg,
want to have Joseph or somebody do it if you don't want to do it, but. you
Okay.
can do it. I mean, you can certainly do that.
Yeah, okay, thank
Or
you.
clarify.
Yeah,
so now we have to vacate this area at 4 o'clock?
We are not going to vacate
No.
at 4 o'clock. We're
That's-
going to take care of this issue.
yeah, it's 13
Okay.
minutes away, so.
There's another space in the building, right? That they can use?
They need to use the recording equipment.
But this is
Video.
the scheduled time for planning commission to meet, so,
This is our regular.
yeah.
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 So my guess is these are special meetings
Possibly.
for the port and the city, the council.
Yeah, special for the council. I don't know about the port.
The board can't use it
And of
anyway.
course,
if we're
there's
not working.
technical difficulty.
Right.
I think we need a tech person.
Everybody. Goodness. I mean. Bizarre. I have Microsoft coming in and changes things.
I'd like to know what you're saying to conduct this. I think
Yeah,
it's go
right.
to meeting, right? Why don't we switch?
Get AI to do it.
Changed. What page are you on? 3. 3? That piece that we wrote, oh, under definitions? I mean, they only use part.
We got it working on the website supposedly. Keely was able to join from her computer, so
Okay. Then I'm going to open up this hearing. POC 2302, Clark Proposed RV Park, at 4:47 PM. We have already, this is a continuation of the meeting. I'll just remind people that they need to speak at the meeting if they have anything to say, to be on the record, or it doesn't count. Um, have the commissioners had any other contact with uh, uh, any of the applicants other than has been mentioned before? Okay.
No.
So the applicant will speak first, then any opponents may speak, and then the applicant can have the last word. And we will discuss amongst ourselves what is going to happen. So do we do the staff report first?
The staff report is first, and we also have to take in the exhibits
Okay,
publicly.
okay. So Crystal, could you do the staff report?
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to do is organize our papers in case they've got tangled up. So I think we talked about it a few minutes ago before we had the sound on. But the first item after the agenda for this is the staff report that has the hearing date December 5th as the last hearing. All the other continued ones are listed and it's the last one. So why don't you put an F on that at the top? This will be, we're entering Exhibit F. Then we have the next item is Exhibit F1, and it has writing at the top. I think I think yours is labeled. It says draft summary of applicable planning commission discussion items to be included. And then it goes down with a list of things, and it has smaller print at the bottom, just saying that we, this is not an official thing of the planning commission. This was just a summary sheet from the staff. Okay, so that should go after F. So that was F1. The next thing in your packet should be F2, and F2 is an email submitted from Christopher Kinney on November, wasn't 28th, that's today. It was published November 28th. But under the wording, the first thing it says is what is new. And that's where the applicant's engineer is responding to some questions on an email that I sent to him. So have you found F2? When you do find it, put it under this because we're going to go through these a little bit. So you have F1 and F2 now. Are we up to date?
Yes.
Okay, then we have another F2, which is,
No, I don't.
this is another communication from the staff. And this says at the top, forward Kinney Clark site plan and continued hearing. And it is small print and it was laying on the table when you came.
Me neither.
Oh, it's this one. The P,
Yes,
FW.
Oh, wait, here's
Yeah.
F2.
Yep.
I didn't have, oh,
because these are the only ones we're going to look at unless we have to go back and look at some old stuff. Has everybody found it?
yeah, we can share. I've got two.
Okay, thank you.
What do I label that?
F2.
Two?
We have two things in F2.
Wait, sorry, what was the second F2?
F2 is the one that has the small print
Oh, that one, okay.
lying on the table.
Okay.
Then we have Exhibit G is the site plan, the new one.
Okay.
And came in, it's in your packet today. It has a November date on it. And it has a G on it too. Okay, then we have, I don't know where G1 is, but G1 is the revised site plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then the G2 is the project narrative that is new from the applicants. G2. And then G3 is a response from the applicants to questions that are actually in here as F1. Might want to just put that note up there, response to F1 on the top that says G3.
G3.
Response to
F1.
that should say response to F1. So if you are trying to figure out where this came from, that's what it is. And this is from the applicants. Then next one says Civil West at the top. It has a G4 on it.
G4.
And this is talking about a drain. This is a drainage report.
I don't think I have that one.
This
The
one here,
water.
I think.
Yes.
See if I have another one for you.
Nope. I don't have that one.
It has Civil West at the top.
C2. Yeah, I don't have that one. I'll share with somebody.
I've got it.
The next one is G5, contained planters, operations and maintenance.
I don't have that one either.
This one here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll share with somebody. I don't have that one either.
Sorry.
That's okay.
And they're very confusing, so. Okay, G6 is water system classification handouts. I think those came on the table today. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where mine is, but I know that's what it is. I had it written down. So,
I have one of those. I can share.
no, it's not the water lab report.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's water system classification.
Oh, if it's the email, then I think I forgot to
Don't
print
have
that
it.
out. I can go ahead and get them real quick though.
Maybe you should have it.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and finish these. So he's going to bring
Okay.
G6. G7 is the water lab report. that
Okay.
you,
Mm-hmm.
provided. I mean, you.
Just held up. Okay.
Trans-Pass water lab report, G7.
Okay.
And that, if we just keep that group in front of us, unless we're looking for something specific,
Mm.
that should be able to, we should be able to review the new stuff.
Okay. I have a question. I have a document labeled G that says Exhibit C, list of changes and RC chart. Where does that one go?
Exhibit G,
It says G on the top.
that goes with the revised site plan, which is
Okay.
also,
Okay. Oh, I see. It goes with the,
Yeah.
okay.
It also shows it down at the very bottom right corner, G1, on the site plan.
G1?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is that what you were asking?
No, there's a separate
Oh, pardon me.
document.
Oh. Oops.
There's a separate document labeled G.
and I'm sorry this is so convoluted, but this is
Oh,
the
this
way
was
it
part of
gets
an
when
earlier
we have so many documents.
submission.
Yeah, this we've seen before, I
Yeah.
think, but
That was part of,
it's labeled G, so it seems relevant.
it was just their comparison. It's confusing because there's no date on it.
Yeah, but this one we saw last time.
It was part of their submission. It
So
was
maybe
in
it
with
should
this.
be, maybe it should be B.
It was with.
And we're waiting for Joseph to come back with those.
B.
But I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead with the
The
staff.
staff report.
Go ahead with the staff report,
So
please.
the staff report is F. And look at the first page of the staff report. First page doesn't have a number on it, but it is one. And then we don't have to go through all these things on the first page until we get to the second page. And then we get into today's new exhibits.
Thank you.
So rather than going through the staff report, I think we should just go through the exhibits because this should explain. Okay, so let's go to F1. So F1 is an email that Joseph and input from your planning chair and I put this together from all of that input from notes that people took at the meeting so that we could respond to the owner about what went on at the meeting in detail because they were trying to listen to, but this is hard for everybody. So we just wanted to make sure that they had all the things that were discussed. So on F1, there's a list of questions and things, and then the response to those, let's get that out and put them together, is F2. There's 2 pages to F2. The first one just tells what their new information is, but the second one is the small print. This is not the response. This is another follow-up with questions by the applicant. So the responses are G, 2, and 3. So let's just go to those. I think that we don't need to ask the questions. We need to see how they respond. So G2 is project narrative, and it's been changed and is new. So you can look at that, or you can look back at it when you have questions. Probably you've already looked at it some online. G3 is response to specific questions that came up at your planning commission meeting, and we will go through that. And these came from the engineer. So G3 at the top, which is a response to F1. So in this response, we had said the sewer line needs to be inspected with a sewer camera and an image prior to hooking up to the main line. And the response is the client no longer plans to utilize existing lateral. Instead, a new plan proposes to connect directly to the sewer main line. Number 2, the applicant needs to get well approval from the Oregon Health Authority and the Oregon Water Resources Department prior to approval. And the client informed us, this is his wording, A, client has registered well installation with the Oregon Water Resources Department and is currently collaborating with Daniel L. Huff about making sure the system is compliant with OHA. So they are recognizing that they are responding to us, to our concerns.
But it's not done.
No, it's not done yet.
Okay.
But I believe that as the staff has put that as a condition, that we will need that before. Okay, the third point on this response, G3, the applicant provides a more in-depth erosion control plan and stormwater management plan detailing best practices, and this is stamped by the applicant's engineer. So there's sheets in here that we have looked at that include that information. The important part to the Planning Commission is that the engineer stamps these. The engineer has prepared these. This is the engineer hired by the applicant. And our job is to make sure that it happens just as they have proposed. So you're going to see in here that we are going to require an inspection of these different items on the ground at some point before final approval. And that inspection could be by their own engineers going and saying and verifying that they have done it and signing something. Or you could require to have another engineer come from another firm working on behalf of the city and do that. That's really up to you guys. I think either one is acceptable. When the applicant hires an engineer, it's still an engineer, even though they're working for the applicant. And if they are confirming that they are doing something because it's the best practices and it fits, you have a right to take the engineer's word for it, as long as it's signed and stamped. And as long as there's a checkoff saying that they went out and it was actually done on the ground that way. Because you have engineers saying what has to happen, and then you have somebody on the ground actually doing the work, which is not the engineer. So you will see in here that we have a choice, which is up to the planning commission. Do we want to just require the owner to have his engineers go out and make sure it's done the way the plan states? Or does the city want to hire their own engineers? And I believe either one can be acceptable. And either way, they cost money and the applicant pays for it. So,
So I have a question.
yes.
Does G5 pertain to number 3? The contain planners, operations and maintenance?
It may, but it also, yeah, it would pertain to the stormwater
Okay, great.
plan. Well, I mean, it could pertain to a whole bunch of things.
Right.
Because we also refer to it in the drainage plan, but the plant plan, and then the plant plan is part of the geotech. Okay, number 4. I don't think there was ever any argument about that. They just have to be aware of what's required when there's archaeological discoveries. And they're saying they are. So number 5, this one, we said that ensure that the demolition of one of the residences is the first stage of development and would constitute substantive progress for purposes of acquiring an extension if necessary. So the applicant can respond to this tonight, but our conversations with the applicant have been, we were concerned about anything other than demolition, not because it couldn't be done. You could combine, you could attach the 2 residences and bring them up to code and make them into a duplex. There's always a way to do that. The problem is that I shared with the applicant is that you are under a timeline for this. And if you start adding something like bringing 2 dwellings up to code and attaching them, this is going to be running out of its timeline, and he would probably have to start this over again. And so the reason we're talking about the demolition is we think that's the choice that he's making. But if he has something else to say, he has a chance to say that. And this changes daily. I mean, it changes because every time there's a new thing on one end, something else has to change. So that's why we don't have every answer tonight yet. But we have the owner here to ask, to provide us. Okay, then number 6, require landscaping to prevent visual blight as previously recommended. And the engineer says, see the landscaping plan, sheet C7. So we will have to look at that. You want to look at that right now? Or should we go on through this? Let's go through. Yeah. Okay.
Just keep going.
But we got to remember to come back to these. Okay, then building codes. We needed compliance for the fire access road, and the layout had to allow for the parking not to be stacked and things like that, and to prevent random parking on the road and other areas. And we also wanted signs, and the applicant's engineer says signs were added to clarify entry and exit points alongside with designated parking stalls. And this is sheet C5. And fire access road, he says, is designed to required standards. Number 8, we said the applicant's engineer shall provide a topographic assessment for planning commission consideration and mark any slope hazard area that is 15% or more than 15% slope on the map. And this would require a full geologic hazard assessment if they were going to go into this with development. Instead, they have marked the area on the site, and they are planning to stay out of that area. And we have to make sure that that happens on the ground, that the area is either, I think it's going to be fenced off or retaining walls and things like that. So that was the solution to this, rather than going into a geologic assessment that would allow development on the slopes. Number 9 is something we always require, that there's a time limit on a conditional use once it is approved. So we'll go to 10. The applicant submits a replat to do a lot merger so that the 2 lots become one, because it's one business and it should be on one lot. So the client and the applicant have agreed to proceed further with this scope of work. Again, this is something I have talked with the applicant. This needs to start right now, as soon as this next week. I mean, we need to set up a pre-application with them so that their engineers understand what is required to do a replat lot merger, so that these things can be happening in sync with each other. And so that when they are ready to start building the RV park, the lot merger at least has a tentative plat approval. The final plat doesn't have to be signed. A tentative shows an intent, and they have to do the exact thing that they show on the tentative. So I don't think there's any problem with that, because a lot of times it'll take a year to get one of those.
Crystal, will that be a separate thing that comes to us?
Yes, it's called a consolidated application, and it means you can work on things for the application simultaneously, and it's defined in our code. But we want them to start it as soon as possible so that one thing doesn't hold up the other thing. Okay, so that's a merger. And then the final page, they already have signed the extension that they have, which is attachment E, and we have included that in the space that formerly had the blank forms, and that's attachment E, which was at the last meeting, and we just replaced those signed documents so that we didn't have to have blank documents in there anyway.
Crystal, I have a question with regard to 3 again. You said that it's up to us to decide if we want a city engineer.
Well, it will be as you go through the conditions or the suggested conditions. You will decide for these things where something has to happen on the ground, because you don't just look at a plan when you're doing something on the ground and say, yeah, they're going to do the plan, especially if it's something you don't see. In other words, you can see a dwelling or something going up, so you are somewhat aware when you give a permit what's happening. But when you're doing a drainage plan or a stormwater plan or something like that, and you want specific things done, somebody needs to go out and do a checklist and confirm that it's done.
I would ask, when do we make that decision?
You will
between
make that
the two?
decision hopefully tonight.
Okay. And, well, maybe I can ask the question at the time then. I had a question with regard to that decision.
Yeah, like I'm working for another city on another project, and they had a geotech do a geohazard study like it, which was one of our options. And I'm giving that council the same suggestions. You can either hire somebody else to oversee this, but in a way, I think it's better to have that geotech oversee it. And that geotech says, does a checklist and says, I've done all of the things that need to be done. They're here and I see them, because they already know what they're supposed to be looking for. And why would they not be suitable if they have their stamp on it? So
Okay, can we move forward now? Is this that, are we finished? Okay, so the applicant then can speak. You're in favor of the conditional use permit, if you'd like to speak now. Or if the person online would like to speak. Go up to,
The only thing I got in my head right now is I just came into town a little bit early today and I drove through the RV park across the street.
okay, can I get you to come up to the microphone and state your
Yeah.
name and your address, and we'll be formal here.
Okay.
And
David Clark. I came into town a little bit early today to make sure I was here on time. And I drove through the RV park across the street and the 101 RV park. And I think my tenants, from what you guys have laid out as far as the size and the way it's laid out, tenants will be very happy in the RV park that I'm going to do with the program and the layout that you guys and the engineers have worked on. The requirements that you've made, it's actually made it a lot better, I think.
Good.
And that's, I mean, if you want to answer, if you have any questions, I'll
yeah,
answer.
Mr. Clark, I do have a question.
Sure.
On the plan, it's marked that the existing building is to be removed. That would be the smaller of the two buildings.
Yes.
And then on our report, it says that that you had decided not to do that. So I just wondering which it is.
Oh, we're going to remove the unpermitted building that's on the property.
Okay, that's the smaller of the two buildings.
Yes, that was the
As shown.
converted garage.
Okay,
I had no idea. of it.
thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And then I had another question. The recycling and garbage area is shown on the map on the C7 here. It's shown outside of your property line. It's shown on the right of way of the city.
That couldn't be possible. I mean, it needs to be, if it is in that position, it needs to be changed and brought into the property.
Okay, yeah, so it would be, I mean, it would fit where the building you're taking out is. That there are other places it
Yeah,
would go, but
there's plenty of room there.
okay. But I just want to note that it is shown on the other side of your property line.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Commissioner Head.
I was wondering, instead of demolishing the second building, if it could be used as an office for the manager?
Yes, that's a possibility, but I think you'd have to ask Crystal this, but I think it
Yeah.
would probably have to be inspected and up to code, and it's going to take more time.
Okay.
Just,
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Seems like a
I don't-
shame if it,
see, the other house is, as far as we know, is a grandfathered house. So we're not requiring them to bring that one up to code.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, it's already there. The one that's unpermitted, we know it's unpermitted because it went in the last
Mhm.
few years, or the last 5 years or so.
Mhm.
And so if you started connecting them,
Mhm.
that wouldn't work.
Well, not necessarily connect them, but is it under 200 square feet?
I
Okay.
believe it is, and it was on the property and rented. I had no idea it wasn't permitted. And I think it was an existing garage that somebody converted, but
Mm-hmm.
It's well done, but it's,
Well, I was just suggesting that if it is under 200 square feet, it might fall into the, it might not need to be permitted as a dwelling, but if it's used as an office, there might be other code,
I don't
other
know,
building
that would
codes that
be a
apply.
whole new thing to look
Yeah.
into.
I don't think that, their plan is to demolish the building, and I don't know that we should be making suggestions on what they're gonna do.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just,
I'd like to
know.
deal with what we have in front of us.
yeah, I know, yeah, the whole building going into
Time
the
is a constraint and
dump.
it is a
Mhm.
serious thing. So are there other questions?
Okay. Nope, that's it.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I had one, excuse me, go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Yeah, I just, when I purchased the property, that was.
Could you speak into the microphone
Yeah,
better?
when I purchased the property probably 12 years ago, I'm pretty sure it was 12 years ago, it was already rented, that little house, studio apartment is what they called it. And, usually when I purchase property in Josephine County, when it is not, just to throw this out there, when you have a structure that's on the property that has no records that it's permitted, then when I go to sign papers like a Josephine County title and the realtor, it's all, because you have to sign off that you're acknowledging that it was not permitted. And that's why I thought it was permitted, but it wasn't like I was trying to do anything or buy anything illegal.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's suggesting that.
Now, I know, but I just,
Yeah.
so you know what the history of what it is.
Mhm. Thanks. Is Civil West online or are they? Or no? Okay. I do have one more question then. I don't know if you're aware, but I'm just trying to figure out where the well is on, for example, C7. I thought it was in the northwest corner, sort of on that slope, but I was looking for it
It's on C1.
in the legend. Okay, C1. Let's see.
It's over in the corner on C1.
Yeah, in the far corner. Okay. Oh, I see. It's that little dot. Yeah, see, it's right there. It's this little dot here.
Oh, that's the water supply.
Yeah. Which one? Okay, thank you.
Looked at in looking at the landscaping plan, I really appreciate that the species of tree that's been selected and the location of the trees looks really good to me, as far as a visual, kind of a barrier from the highway.
Is that
That's on
C7?
C7.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really good to me. And I was thinking, that since this is changing this from a residential to a commercial use, it is a commercial neighborhood, but we have a neighbor next door who will be affected by seeing it. If we could have, it would be possible to have trees on the west side also.
Is that where the fencing is?
Along where the fencing is.
Is there enough
I would
room
think
for
that
it?
that would be,
There aren't, yeah, it's not enough space for this cypress, but maybe something else.
and I don't think that it sounds like that sewer, the old sewer is not going to be used. The sewer that goes along that western side is not going to be used, correct? You're going to run a new
Yes,
lateral.
that's correct. We want to connect, I
So
think it's.
it wouldn't affect the, planting a tree over a sewer because it's not going to be used.
From standing where the house is or where anything is on my property, the cedar fence, I put it high enough and put it so that it would
Yeah.
block the view for the neighbor there. The only thing you can see when you stand as far as you can back away from to the other house, the only thing you can see that is more or less just the rain gutter and the roof line of the house. They can't see anything. I mean,
Well,
We can plant some shrubbery there, but it's,
Can I make a suggestion? The maximum height of the fence, I think allowable by the county is 7 feet. So it may be, because this is kind of a narrow space here between the fence and the road, the Leland and cypress would be too wide, but perhaps you could put the planters there and, you know, a species of bamboo or something that grows straight up that won't grow out into the road, you know. But you might be able to squeeze the planters in there between the road and the fence on the west side.
yeah, they really,
Six-
yeah, I mean, we can do that. That's no problem. But
It's a 6-foot fence, isn't it?
the neighbor,
The neighbors right here.
they love the fence. They
Well, the
just,
bamboo will
every
be taller than the.
time I did talk to them, they thanked me for putting that up. So,
It's a 6-foot fence, isn't it?
huh?
6-foot fence, isn't it?
I believe it is, yes.
I think the county, I might be wrong, but
But
So I have a question, David.
sure,
I noticed that each site has a fire pit. It says they're 4 feet diameter. It doesn't say what the height is. Was that approved by the fire department?
I'm not sure. That's something you'd have to ask the engineers. And I didn't even, I didn't know that he just sent me the plans with the fire pit in there. I
Mhm.
didn't know that.
is that on C7?
C7.
I read that.
There are.
It's shown on C5. They are.
They're also on C7.
Do fire pits need to be approved?
I suppose we could,
Well, you know, like during fire season,
Well, you can't have fires in a
there's
fire pit.
restricted use of
Yeah.
an open
Yeah.
fire pit. So
I don't think you're
just-
allowed to have any open burning in the city anyway, are you?
Not during the burning season.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it wouldn't be approved unless it had a chimney and a whole thing. It wouldn't be approved during
Right.
fire season.
I'm assuming because of the changes here that this will have to go past the fire chief again, given the restructure of where things are.
I didn't quite get.
That might be a
Do you know
crystal
the
question.
answer to that,
it's on a different.
question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm assuming that because of the many changes here, and by the time it gets finalized, we may have to have the fire department review this again.
I don't think I think
Because you
I
have,
think the fire chief has approved a less restrictive version of this.
yes,
already.
but now you've got all these plants around, and then they're actually close to those fire pits on that one side. So in terms of fire and the repositioning of the different structures here, and now you've got different parking spaces. I'm just thinking that at a final version, it should probably be passed by the fire chief again.
Well, they could get a sign off as a conditional of,
We could have, that could be a condition that it be signed off by the fire chief.
Question. Do we have fire pits in our other RV parks?
No, I've never seen any. The only place I've
Yeah, I
ever
haven't-
seen any fire pits are in state.
Parks.
Mhm.
Right.
That's
yeah.
why there is a concern of whether they're even permitted within the city.
Allowed.
I know that some years ago, we changed we eliminated burn barrels. We went through a whole,
we can ask
thing.
them to come back to us with that response.
okay.
There's
Yeah, good idea.
there's and it wouldn't be our local fire department. There's a fire marshal in Brookings that we can use for such questions. And we have her name and number at the office. If you or one of the engineers want to connect with them and see about the fire pits.
Sure. Yeah, and it's most RV parks have people that they have barbecues. It's
Yeah, they have barbecue. So
Yeah.
whether you might not even lose anything if you don't put the
a
pits
better
in.
idea to go to the beach and have a campsite fire.
I mean, the fire pits in the city.
So this could be something that would happen prior to planning clearance.
prior to-
So they would be contingent on approval by the fire marshal again.
Yes.
Well, we didn't ever really take this in front of the fire marshal. We just had, we got a sign off from the Port Orford Fire District, but they don't have, I don't believe they have a fire marshal at this time. And so I think that's maybe why it was sketchy. They used to have a fire marshal. I think it takes a certification or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to find another one in Brookings from the state website.
Yeah.
And that's who we can use.
Mm.
And that's who we'd want them to use, so that we don't bother the Port Orford Fire Department if that's not what they do. Because basically what we need from the Port Orford Fire District is to say that they serve it and things like that.
Yeah, it's just concerning in the city.
yeah.
to have
So they're
fire
not,
pits.
I mean, they're not technical experts. They're firefighters.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
we can require that as a condition.
Thank you. Anything else? ahead.
One more question. I noticed in your narrative, you call this long-term and tenants, but yet it's in the narrative, it says, do you have it there? Right. That, it's not for residential, but not for normal residential purposes. And so what, is this more of an intent of vacation, people coming to camp, that kind of a thing, as opposed to people staying for months at a time or living there as a residential?
For me, it seems like it's more like affordable housing for people that want to stay more than a few weeks, Just,
Affordable vacation housing, or we're not talking about people that are going to stay here and live here and work here or do whatever.
They can do that now under the state law.
Right.
If-
So there's no maximum
So
length.
Right.
when the engineer is saying that it's not long-term, I don't think that we would be able to distinguish between a month and 5 months. And I don't think the owner would want to be distinguishing that. It's either short stay, which is less than a month, or long stay, which could be people living in it.
So I think the question is that going to be a requirement that someone agree to stay for at least a month?
no.
So I think the terms are confusing with what we have in our definitions for the city in terms of what is a long-term or affordable.
So what is it you want? You want you want any long-term stay to be acceptable? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I mean, it's, it's like going back to Chris Speed, the kid, kept asking me, hey, when are you gonna get that thing going? Because I got my elderly people don't want to leave Port Orford, but yet they don't want to take care of a big house with all the things in it. So I don't know. But the longer the better. Because I don't know if have you guys ever had any rentals?
Oh, yes. But,
Well, sometimes it takes quite a few good ones, bad ones to get a good one, I think. But we try to make sure we're going to screen all that before that happens.
I think the other thing that's confusing is that when you refer to it as affordable housing, someone has to own the RV to put in there, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to provide that.
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's hard to qualify that as affordable.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's another option that might be less than
It's an
buying a
option
house.
it's an option that a lot of people in the world that we're living in right now have been forced into though. You know?
Any more questions? Mr. Burt?
It's kind of a comment. We suggested some terminology for the ground as durable and dustless. And I don't see it anywhere in the packet. So I think if that is something that is a term that is used in the industry, maybe it could be incorporated.
Yeah, it's something that has to be done with the engineer because I don't know. I mean,
So we
So-
are going to make a condition that we have that come back to the planning commission.
Well, if you notice, the engineers actually did deal with it when they talk about the surface that is gravel, which would be durable and dustless. And when in the water, stormwater management plan, they're using a coefficient of, I think, 0.85 in the amount of water that goes into the land. It's in the report. So they're dealing with that, and there's 0.45 acres that are covered. So they're basically calling all that graveled area not just regular soil. I think that's what,
Okay.
that was where I brought up the permit.
Using different terms.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they didn't use that particular term, but they did address it as a graveled area. They're calling it a graveled area.
I have just one more comment. I'm not really sure if this is something that we can suggest or require, but I'm sure you've already thought about this. Having the rules for the RV park posted somewhere and clear for the residents. Rules for the RV park, similar to how we have rules for short-term vacation rentals where, the noise ordinance and respect for the neighbors and,
yeah, that'll be all in some type of a rental agreement.
okay,
The conditions of the park they'll have to sign
right,
before they can ever park there.
okay, great. Yeah, I'm sure it's on your radar. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I think we would want to see those before the staff can see them,
Sure.
before the building permits,
Okay, yeah, we can make that,
before the planning.
request that.
clearance. Okay, prior to planning clearance, say it again.
The rules for staying at the RV park. Rules and, yeah, terms and conditions, rules.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else? If there is not, then we can open it up to opponents of the conditional use permit. And thank you for Mr.
Maybe,
Clark.
it looks like Christopher might want to.
Oh,
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
All
go
right.
ahead.
Hey, everybody. I got the new email in the in my old or the new link in my old email. So just letting you know I'm here. So I don't know if I missed any questions that I could have answered, but if there's any more, I'm here. So
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kinney?
I don't think so.
I do.
Okay,
Have
Chris.
you been hearing this discussion and will you be involved in this or will someone else at Civil West be doing this?
yeah. So I'm no longer working with Civil West. So whoever Will's the project manager. So whoever he delegates, I don't know too much, but it won't be me. This will be my last involvement.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll open it up to opponents. If anyone's online, I don't see anyone in the room, but if anyone online would like to make comments on the record, please indicate you'd like to do that.
Look here on C5 too. Yeah.
It doesn't look like anyone wants to oppose.
Okay, so no opposition.
Oh, I don't think he's in a
Oh,
So I
Did,
have that comment from my neighbor.
okay, so you have, so Commissioner Head has a comment from the neighbor, and I think you're going to just be, let's just call this
Yeah.
a neutral comment from
Okay.
Commissioner Head
Yeah, thank you. I don't
for
think,
information.
I don't think it's necessarily in opposition, but it seems like he's asking for clarification on the process. His name is Corb Brenner, and he lives just one property. He owns the property just to the south of 1436 Jackson.
What is his name again?
Corb Brenner,
C-O-R-B.
Korbe Brenner.
And his property?
I'm not sure if it has an address, but it's one property south of 1436 Jackson.
Oh.
There's no residence on the property.
So he's not a neighbor, he's just a
Well, he
citizen.
comes part-time. Yeah, he comes part-time in his RV.
Okay.
Your neighbor?
Mhm.
So,
He lives
so he does he have a local address? I mean, do you know?
A mailing address? I doubt it.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, lives in Susanville, California.
okay.
Okay, so he says, "Hi Jen, in looking over the staff report for this project, I couldn't get a clear picture of the construction process and how the city will oversee that construction. In California, after the local agency, i.e. Planning Commission, approves an RV park project with all the conditions, the developer's engineer must create a construction document called the quote-unquote improvement plans. These plans show all the required conditions and details to get them built, identifying specific code specifications. These plans normally require a superintendent of public works to review and approve the complete set of improvement plans and to make sure all the different state agencies have signed off prior to any site disturbance and construction."
This would be, this is a good testimony that you read.
Mm-hmm.
It describes the terminology for what I was trying to say, that we could have their engineers do it and do a checklist for us of everything they've done, or hire an engineer for which the owner would pay to be able to accomplish that.
I
And
see.
I didn't have the right I didn't have any terminology for it.
Okay, so this is basically what the process that he's asking about here.
So that, we'll use that terminology.
Mm-hmm.
Development. What does he call it?
Improvement plans?
Improvement
Yeah.
plan. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's a little bit different from California in that we don't have a superintendent of public works, but similar.
No, but we need to have somebody who, either their own engineers with a sign off and a stamp
Mm-hmm.
saying that they've done all these things, and that will be our final requirement for all these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Or
you. Mm-hmm.
the engineer from like another
Different
firm.
firm. Mm-hmm.
Independent engineer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner
Thank
Head. Okay, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Clark, would you make any more comments, or are we done? If you do, please come up to the mic.
As far as I know, it's your choice to make it if there's another engineer or have Civil West do the engineering to sign off on it. I would feel myself a lot better if Civil West did it, because they've been involved with this from the start, and I work pretty good and I feel good with these guys. And they're not going to sign anything that they don't have to legally stand behind anyway. So that's the only thing I have to say. I would prefer it myself. Okay.
Thank
It's
you.
your decision, right? Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to close this public hearing at 5:41.
440.
4:41. Thank you. Missed it by 2 hours. Okay, and now we will deliberate on this conditional use permit. We can reopen it if we need more evidence. So let's
So
talk
I
about
think
it.
what we should do, and maybe you have a different idea, but I think that we should go back to the conditions that we have in the staff report,
Mhm.
and then the ones that we've added
Okay.
tonight. And by doing that, we should cover the ground.
Let's do that. Let's go through the conditions that the staff have suggested
Those are on page 10
of the staff.
and 11 of the staff report.
Okay.
And the staff report is Exhibit F, without any numbers after the F.
Okay. Should I go through this or do you want to go through?
No, you go ahead. I mean,
Okay.
unless you want to be thinking more than talking.
Well, at this point, I'll just go through this. So
Okay.
number one, the new sewer plan needs to be reviewed and approved by Public Works Superintendent with potential conditions in place. That would be, so I'm just going to go through all these, and if there's anybody, I guess if anyone feels like there's a point we need to discuss, just stop me. If we need, and we might need to vote on it. The well approval, the applicant, should I read through the complete?
Yeah.
The applicant needs to get well approval from the Oregon Health Authority and the Oregon Water Resources Department and provide it to the city planning technician, Joseph Harrington, prior to obtaining planning clearance. Number two. Number three, the applicant has provided a more in-depth erosion control plan and storm management detailing best practices stamped by the applicant's engineer to be approved and utilized for the development. The Planning Commission needs to determine inspection procedure for implementation, determining whether sign off from the applicant's engineer is sufficient, with the oversight and the inclusion of the city's Public Works director for final inspection. An engineering firm contracted by the city and paid for the applicant may be required at the direction of the Public Works director. So my feeling is
3 and 4 are attached
3 and
there.
4 are attached. My feeling is that Civil West works with our city quite a bit. We know who they are. If they can provide a checklist and can do it, they're licensed engineers. I say, let's go with them.
I have a question on that with regard to our liability. If we utilize our staff, if we make the decisions on the engineer, what's our liability with regard to that?
The reason that we want them to have a checklist and say that they have done all this with a stamp is that is the best we can do to put the liability onto the engineers, whether they are engineers that we hire or engineers that he hires. They are supposed to follow the proper procedures, and that's what their stamp.
So there's no additional liability for the city.
We never
If we
know how
designate-
far a court case could go, but we're doing the only thing we can do. as
But
far as I know.
if we go with the owner's engineer, would that reduce the
I don't
city's
think so,
liability?
because there's still an engineer with a stamp.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment about that. I've worked with Civil West on a completely separate issue, a building project, and I found them to be, extremely thorough and professional. And I think that, they have to assume the liability of their decisions. And so I would feel comfortable moving forward with Civil West as well.
There might be cases where you would want your own, but I don't think that there's been contentious situation here
Right.
where we don't agree with them on things.
Right. I think the concern would be conflict of interest, right? Is that what you're
I'm
thinking?
thinking, and we have a history of where we didn't do that and probably had a negative result. But so my thing would be a conflict of interest. We could hire, he can have an engineer in Civil West. We can have an independent engineer from Civil West or from somewhere else. I just worry about the conflict of interest.
But he has to assume the cost, right? of
Yeah,
the-
either way,
yeah.
he has to pay, so.
Mhm.
So Crystal, do you want us to vote on which?
Yeah, if
We
we're
wanna
not all in consensus, we'll need to vote on it.
Mhm.
So would you like to make a motion?
Yes.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Did you want to make a motion on Civil West?
Sure. I move that we allow the applicant to use Civil West for the, to inspect and the improvement plans.
I'll
worded-
second that.
Is that worded correctly, Crystal?
I believe. If not, I'll add some words.
Discussion.
I just feel that I just feel that we should have something independent, whether it's Civil West or some other engineering, just for the conflict of interest and.
And we're talking about the surface runoff.
All these things.
Mhm.
Or
All
the
the things that-
erosion plan
the
and,
erosion plan and everything.
Okay. Other
Mhm.
discussion?
Yeah, I think there's logic to continue to use Civil West since they know this project and they've been working on it. However, I agree that there could be a conflict.
Okay.
So that concerns me.
All right. Let's take a vote. Anything else? Let's take a vote.
I don't
Commissioner
know.
Lawton,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Okay. No.
Commissioner Lovendall,
No,
Commissioner Barrett.
No.
I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I changed my mind after thinking about the need to have.
So would you repeat?
The motion was to accept Civil West, the applicant, to accept Civil West to be the sign off sheet.
Okay.
Right.
And you're still a
I
yes?
think I'm still a yes.
Okay.
No. Mhm.
No. And Commissioner Thiel, I'm a yes.
Okay.
So the motion does not carry. So the applicant will be required to have another professional engineer.
Then we will be required to choose them and actually hire them and let him.
So the city will be required to hire or to direct the applicant to hire.
We
We will choose them.
We will select the engineer. The city will select the
Okay.
engineer. We probably have, the city has always had a firm that was their general engineer. When
Is
they
it
needed-
drier?
I don't know. Yeah, it's been dire, but I don't
Dire.
know if that's happened after the pandemic or if that's still in force. But if it is, that's who it would be.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
my
How many-
concerns about it stem solely from the erosion potential in the northwest corner. So I feel like that really, really needs to be examined.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, number 4 or number 5. The applicant shall comply with section 17-16-060 for any archaeological discoveries made when development activity is taking place on subject property. Number 6,
Yeah.
ensure that the demolition of one of the residences is the first stage of development and would constitute substantive progress for the purpose of requiring an extension if necessary. Yes, Crystal.
I think it needs to be the residence that we know is unpermitted.
Okay, so let's say
Otherwise, we would have to say that it had to be
so
permitted.
ensure that the demolition of the unpermitted residence is in the first stage. Good with that? Okay, number 7, require a maintenance plan for the landscaping and utility services, trash and recycling. Staff will report back with new information submitted following the organization of this staff report. And that has been submitted. Should we note that the trash and recycling is currently not on the property
Yes.
and would need to be changed? Thank you. Number 8, comply with state building codes requirements on RV parks for the building permit and compliance with the state fire marshal for the access road at the time of planning commission approval for the layout. This will ensure the proposal that is approved by the planning commission can be implemented. This may require reconfiguration of the current layout to permit egress and egress from the parking spaces and prevent random parking on the road or other areas, which has been done on this plan, as far as I can tell. Number 9, it is required that the applicant follow their submitted and approved landscaping and maintenance plan in order to avoid the slope hazard on the east side of the property. Inspection of such landscaping shall be done at the time of the inspection for erosion control and stormwater by the Public Works Superintendent. Any concerns may be referred to the city engineer hired by the city at the expense of the applicant.
So we already had that worded that way. Yeah.
So can I clarify something? Who is the public works superintendent in this case? Is it the engineer? No. Who is that?
That would be John.
John Isidore? Okay.
Number 10, the applicant shall provide a signed acknowledgement of time on a permit for conditional use, which has been done evidently.
No, that one's not done, but
Oh.
it will be done.
Oh, so yeah,
As
shall
part of the
provide
approval, right.
signed acknowledgement of 1732-060 time on a permit for conditional use at the time of any approval. Oh, I see, at the time of the approval.
This is a 1-year thing that
Yeah.
says they have a year to get it done or come back to us.
Okay.
And if we think that's too short, that it's going to be too short, we could just have them come back and report to us and understand that if they're working on something that there could be, as long as they can tell us well enough, we want better responses than we've required in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were working on it, it would probably be reasonable to extend it.
Right, exactly.
Applicant submits a tentative, number 11, applicant submits a tentative replat to complete a lot merger so the two lots become one. This shall be submitted early in 2024 so that it is merged into a consolidated application that would have tentative plat approval by the time that the RV park obtains planning commission approval. And then we had some additions to that.
Yes. So I've been taking notes. Do you want me to start reading those?
Yeah, would you please do that?
I think we already took care of this. Applicant will remove small unpermitted dwelling.
Yes.
Yes. Garbage needs to be removed from street and brought into the property. We already
We
addressed that.
addressed that,
Yeah,
yes.
number 7.
Okay. Condition of sign off from the fire marshal. Did we add that?
We did not yet, we
We had one thing about it.
we want it
the
to be
road.
a separate item that we
Okay,
want to
let's
have.
do it.
There were two. One was signed off by the city for, or do we just want the one from the fire marshal for the fire pits?
Oh,
It was the fire marshal for the
Mhm.
fire pits.
well, they're going to be coming, the fire marshal is going to be having to do a check of the road anyway, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, yes. So,
For fire pits.
right,
Okay.
for the road and the fire
And
pits.
this can be done in conjunction with the road at the
Yes.
same time.
Does the city need to be involved in the fire pits since we don't have fire pits in other RV parks?
Well,
Must
if
be a
these
reason,
fire,
I don't
if
know.
the fire marshal has a lot of specifications.
Yeah.
Once this is done, we're probably not going to come back and change this.
Mhm.
And it's probably going to be, you're not going to have the fire pits. But, if it's pretty simple and it's just like you can have them, but you don't use them at certain times.
Yeah.
Then it's probably going to be simple and they could have them. So
Can
Time
we,
of-
can we include the city as well as the fire marshal?
Who in the city?
Isn't that what you're
Yeah,
suggesting?
I'm wondering if.
Who from the city though?
Yeah, who in the
I
city?
think she means the Port Orford Police Fire Department.
Either the fire, no, or I don't know if the city council, I mean,
Well,
we went through this whole, I don't know.
The
There must be a reason, but it may be if what Crystal says is correct, that there will be so many conditions that they don't put the fire pits in and they've got room for more barbecues. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
I'm just, I personally have a concern about having fire pits.
Yeah. I think that's your concern is if the fire pits are there, are the fire pits themselves safe, no
Right.
matter when they're used?
That's
And I think
correct.
that's the
Right,
basic issue we
right,
want to deal with.
Right.
I think that we're pretty clear on when you can have a fire.
I think we could ask the applicant to, this doesn't have to be a condition forever.
No.
We still have another month before we have to have this done.
Right.
And we could ask them to report back to us
On there.
within the next month
Mhm.
and get something written from the fire marshal so that we have it
Okay.
before we write our final conditions.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Well, aren't we are setting the final conditions right now.
Yes,
They'll be legally set right now.
but this one won't be
Okay,
set
this one won't be. Okay. Okay.
because we don't have the answers tonight.
Okay.
So, my theory, so this all has to be done by March. And that has to include any time for appeals by the owners or the neighbors that have testified. Only people that can testify. So I think we can, if they can get on this and get this done by our next meeting,
Mhm.
we will have this answer.
Mhm.
We can continue this over to get this answer by the next meeting. We can't do a whole big thing,
Mhm.
but we could do that if we want this.
It wouldn't be a hearing. It would be just a report.
Well, it might be a hearing, a carryover of the hearing or a report.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I-
That sounds good to me. I mean, you know more about this. than
Well,
I do.
I think it might be the safest to carry over the hearing
Okay.
and have them come back with this
Mhm.
so that we can do it in public. And if other people want to
Okay.
comment, they will.
Okay. Let's do that.
But the less things we carry over, the better. And I presume that our meeting is probably going to be the 9th
Yes.
instead of the day after New Year's.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you.
are you hearing this?
So we're talking about carrying this meeting in order to get a response from the fire marshal about the fire pits. We are,
The more I thought about it, I think it would be better for me to tell the engineer that it would be, I think it would actually be better. It would be better to eliminate the fire pits and have them use barbecues, because after listening to all your conversation about it, it sounds kind of dangerous to me.
okay,
Well, let's just do it then.
that makes sense.
Mhm.
Then we could
Yeah.
probably move on this today then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yes, so let's put a condition that the fire pits be removed
Mm-hmm.
from the plan.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to make sure the condition about seeing the rules and regulations for residents or tenants
Oh, yes.
was going to be included. Mm-hmm.
Those would be prior to the planning clearance.
Okay.
Do you guys want to see them? Is that what, you want to see them right away?
Well, it doesn't have to be right away. No, just, yeah.
So the city needs to look at them.
They should be on record
And
with the
approved-
city,
And approved by this.
Yeah.
by the planner. Can the planner do that?
I could, I don't know if I
Mhm.
want to.
Okay.
I mean,
Are you saying you would,
about noise.
you saying you would rather have us look at it, Crystal?
Well, I forgot now, what is it? I'm
The-
gonna,
the,
rules and
Rules
regulations.
and regulations of the
Similar,
rental regulations.
similar to what we did for the short-term
yeah,
vacation.
I just wondered if there were examples of, if there's examples, I guess that,
State.
I guess we can always change them if they're not working.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is this a big thing? I mean, what could go wrong?
I don't think it's a deal breaker. Well, I was just thinking about respecting the residents in the vicinity of the RV park and same concerns that we have with short-term vacation rentals, like loud noises after 10 p.m. or, and just letting them know like the tsunami evacuation routes and people might not be from here, similar to what we did for short-term vacation rentals where we wanted people to, comply with for dark skies, for example, or if they have.
Ask to have
Yeah.
this, we could ask to have a prototype
Mm-hmm.
given to us at our next meeting.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I like that idea.
Okay.
So this would be,
Except
yeah,
we
we have that in here somewhere.
Except we were going to go ahead, because we weren't going to have it inspected. Because we weren't going to have
Because we weren't going to carry over the
we
hearing.
weren't going to carry the hearing over.
Yeah.
Now we might have to if they want to see that.
Well,
Is that a big deal?
I mean, it's not something I think we should carry the hearing over for. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it is, no.
I think it's more just adding it
Yeah.
to
our list.
And this is
of-
not a,
On the recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Before
for
planning
me,
starts.
it's not the same as that short-term rental. You don't just show up overnight. You don't know where
Right.
you are. This is
Right.
long-term.
Right.
People are going to get familiar with
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, and I have a certain degree of trust in the owner that he also wants to keep peace
So
in
they
his
need to turn in
neighborhood.
the rules
Mhm.
to the, and then if the city starts having any problems or anything, we can contact the owner
Right.
and that can be changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've
But
done
the
due
city
diligence.
needs to have them.
Owner and or the property manager.
Mm-hmm.
And the condition about, that the planning commission is approving a gravel durable industrial service. Gravel surface.
That it has been addressed. I don't
Yeah,
know that we need to
that's
say
fine.
that, but it has been, I think we just can
So you
accept
think
that
it's
been-
adequately addressed?
I think it's been adequately
Okay.
addressed. I don't think that we need to say anything.
We've resolved that. Yeah, that's fine.
And I think they did a really good job of that. I looked it up. 'Cause
Okay,
I
good,
was kind of a
good.
stickler about that, and
Mhm.
they did a good job. The engineers did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, they've addressed all of our findings, and
Mhm.
I appreciate that.
Was there anything else? Is any other conditions that anybody has brought up that we didn't talk about?
Well, there was one thing that it wasn't a condition, but it's probably the one thing that we aren't going to be able to fix is Mr. Leslie's concern about, headlights shining into his living room because of the way that the exit has to be, at the west end of the
Yeah.
property. So
It's unfortunate.
it is unfortunate. Yeah.
I still have a question about the maintenance of the plants.
Yes.
We have this maintenance plan. This is out of a book or something, which is fine. But we do need to have somebody report to us or a checklist or something about the maintenance plan so that it's actually being done, because there's all over the cities, there's conditional use permits where maintenance is required. And I don't mean here, I mean everywhere.
Yeah.
And nothing's been done. And
Mhm.
I think that this is another one of those things on the ground. And we need to have somebody report to us of what they're doing. And I think that we should put that in as a condition
And-
that we need to have that report
Mm-hmm.
a certain amount of times and when and where until this is established.
Mm.
So in the operation and maintenance plan, it says these inspections, so there's about inspecting. These inspections shall occur at a minimum quarterly for the first 2 years and then 2 times a year thereafter. The
And
owner
then
must
they
keep
keep
a
a log.
log
Okay,
recording all inspections dates
Mhm.
and maintenance activities. And then the following items shall be inspected and maintained as stated.
that
Now,
sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
would that be, would maintenance of these things be, would the maintenance of the conditional use permit be based on this happening?
Contingent.
Is that how that works? Does a conditional use permit, once it's in?
A conditional use permit can be, it can be pulled if it's not operating properly. I
Right.
don't know what the procedure is, and I have never personally worked in a city where we have done it, but I think it would take an attorney
Yeah.
and an inspector going out and being concerned and the city paying to make sure that they either take care of it or that it comes back to the planning commission for a review.
So sh- should it say the facility owner must keep a log recording all inspection
Probably
dates?
not the owner, it would,
uh,
the manager.
With, or, oh, the facility man, and the city may have access to that,
I think so.
to those records?
Yeah.
The city will have access to the maintenance logs.
Mhm.
Would we want to just say that they submit it to the city quarterly rather than we have access? Because I think
Yeah.
people would forget that we have access and it would go by
I
the
don't know that the
wayside.
city needs to be deluged with
That's only
stuff.
4 times a year.
Well, I think it's 4 times a year in the beginning and then 2 times a year thereafter.
So we want them to utilize the maintenance plan
Utilize the maintenance plan.
as submitted, G5, right?
Yes. And
Yeah, it makes sense to me to have the owner submit them, the logs, as opposed to having the city to go track them down.
Yeah.
I think it would be good to do that just at least for the first year or something so that there's someone watching those, or maybe the first 2 years until they are established. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah, I
it'll be a
agree.
matter of us, because even like in Coos Bay, the city planted stuff at their visitor center. And when I was walking by, I would see that they were dying. And then I would have to call the city.
Hmm.
And I did. But, and they went and fixed them. But I mean, that's a pretty common thing. And
Mhm.
so if we give them a certain amount of time to get that established, and then after that, it would be on a complaint basis or something like that, so that we don't have this long thing of, looking at logs all the time.
I would say to follow this for the first 3 years. Things are pretty well established in 3 years around here.
Mhm.
Agreed.
And are you proposing annually or quarterly?
As written,
As written.
What is that numbered?
this is G5. It's it's a contained planters operations and maintenance plan. This does not include trees though, I don't think.
I think we should add trees.
So
Landscaping.
trees, a report on the health of the trees?
Yeah, I mean, they should put in their logs, they should see if the trees are surviving. Because that's pretty typical, that certain trees die and then
Yeah,
they never
there's-
get filled in.
There's going to be some.
Well, not only that, but the cypress are and cedar are susceptible to deer predation. Yeah, so if they're small when they're, planted.
Are you getting any of that?
I'm just saying, for the first 3 years, we want to add to that the trees will be added as there will be an inspection of trees
There'll be inspection of
Mhm.
trees.
and logging. Inspection, logging, and providing to city, right?
Yes, and providing to the city.
Potentially one more thing. Commissioner Thielen, you brought this up about maybe putting some plantings on the west,
Mhm.
that blank area there on the west side.
Yeah, and
To help with the
it's a
lights?
great idea.
Or not, just privacy for the residents next door
Isn't
and,
that what the fence was for?
Yeah, that's a
Well, it's
6-foot
6 feet
fence.
high and the RVs are 10 feet
Yeah.
high.
for me, I would appreciate that if I was living next door. I don't know if the planters would fit there, but there are a lot of species of bamboo that don't get too terribly tall, but would fill in the planters, I wouldn't put them in the ground because then they'll end up everywhere, but
Well, it looks like there's room for trees along a lot of that area.
well, the mature width of the trees here is 20 feet. It says. right?
What's the scale on that?
Oh,
That's
20.
about a 3 foot? And the narrow
20
point?
foot mature width. Oh,
I mean, there's other plants that could probably go there, but they would have to be very upright
yeah.
Mhm.
so they wouldn't get into the road,
And narrow.
like arbor vitae, for example, or, yeah.
Yes, sir, please. Yes, please do.
When the removal of the studio apartment, then that allows more area. And what would be really good, and this is what I would plan to do, is to put trees there like you're talking. But with the removal and demolition of that building, the outward driveway could be more of a curve where Mr. Leslie wouldn't hardly get any headlights to his house.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's,
So we
maybe
could,
that would solve it.
yeah, that would be great.
That would make Mr. Leslie happy.
I don't want, I got respect.
I'm sure, yeah. Thank you for suggesting
Yeah,
that.
that's a good
so let's.
idea.
Mhm.
wanna
It
do
is.
that.
It is a good idea. Thank
So
you.
let's word that before we go on. Let's see how that condition should be worded.
What he just stated? Okay. So he's proposing, there's some trees, some Leland cypress here where the small structure has been removed. So he's talking about redesigning that planting so that the driveway can be angled such that the exiting vehicles don't shine into Mr. Leslie's living room. You don't think that's going to work?
Yeah, there's already a berm planned there, right?
It's,
Okay.
the driveway can't go any further east than the right of way of the concrete where it comes in.
Oh,
I mean, they're going to be driving over the concrete driveway. It's already as far.
It's already, you're saying the driveway's already installed.
Yeah, the property line comes. I don't see how that can happen.
If you had a plot map where you see where Mr. Leslie's house is positioned, it's farther west than what you're thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
If the driveway was just curved a little bit, it wouldn't even.
I don't see how it's,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at
Starting from here.
even if the building was not there,
Lights will
where it exits your property, I don't think it's going to be able to swing. I don't think you're going to be able to swing it that direction.
it can't go further east.
You mean, you can do it. I mean,
Yeah, if I had it in front of me, if I could show you about where his house is.
Maybe he can just bring it up with the engineers.
yeah,
A plot, if you had a plot map, if the plot map showed the,
where his house is doesn't affect how you can move your driveway. Your driveway can only move just a certain, you can swing it closer to where that building is, but it's still going to come out at the same place.
yeah, actually his headlights, it wouldn't hit his front living room, it'd hit the corner of his house.
Well, you start,
But,
yeah,
huh?
you would start the headlights shining from back a ways. So,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, the headlights start from where that behind the main structure is there, the residence. That's when they start shining. So it wouldn't do much good
Well, but,
to try and,
yeah, if you bring that area, that treed area out off the property line from the fence of the Bartholomews
Can't go any closer.
and bring it out a little bit farther after that house is moved, it would block that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
it may be easier for him to put a fence up in front of his house or some shrubs in front of his house.
yeah, it would be better, but.
I think if you're going to be changing the way the driveway works, you're going to need to hold this over and come back next month. That's a big
Yeah,
deal.
No, I won't change it then.
Yeah, I appreciate you being willing to do that,
Yeah.
but I don't,
Okay.
we can't do that here.
Okay, yeah, and that's,
But thank you.
I
Yeah.
We
appreciate
could
that.
require trees
We
along.
could require trees, and I think we should require trees
On the east.
where, as far, like,
So if you look at C7, where the trees are,
yes,
there's 2 indicated, 2 Leland cypress right there.
I'm
Are
talking
you
about,
saying add more?
I'm talking about along the
This side.
west side.
Oh, okay.
I think we should have plantings from a point east of the building,
Mhm.
west of the building, along to the other trees.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would help.
Mm-hmm.
And there's room for some sort of vegetation.
Something, yeah, they'll have to pick something else or it'll be a maintenance
So
thing.
you're
We want them to
proposing
bring
sort of
us
a U
back a
shape?
plan that shows that at the next meeting.
He's saying here, Pamela, from
Right here,
here
we'd have to hold
right
it
to
over.
here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Could,
Uh,
this I think is the most narrow.
Oh,
That's
from like where the
probably about
electrical
14 feet
thing is, or maybe further.
In this scale here.
You said to the.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, from the
Or
building.
maybe close to 5.
It's
Oh, yeah.
specifically
Mm-hmm.
okay.
These planters aren't much more, or much
Uh,
wider.
Yes.
Crystal tells me that we could hold just this one piece over without having to do the whole
Sure.
thing and require plantings. Have some trees. Or tall bushes along the west property line, the southwest property line
Or the south.
from west of the building to the existing, the trees shown.
So
Why don't you hold that up?
here,
South.
It could be Escalonia because they'll grow tall.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
And even further if there was room for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Further west.
either further north if there was room.
So is that something that you could have Civil West get to us so that we could look at that one particular thing
Yeah.
at the next meeting?
I can try, but I know that Will just lost Christopher, so I don't know what his staff feels like.
Well, he could draw them on there. I mean, it doesn't have to be, yeah.
I don't know if.
Or can we just make it,
Chris mention someone else taking.
We could make that a condition.
yeah, we can just make it a condition. Right here.
So if we could put some plantings in.
Yeah, yeah.
Just make it a condition.
Mm-hmm.
Can we make that a condition?
Yeah,
Then we can
that's
approve it.
perfect. Yeah. And what I was thinking about here is just adding another couple of trees here and cutting these back, and then that just,
Well,
Leslie's house sets.
So let's not worry about that.
Okay, okay.
Because this is your property line. Or, this is your property line. So you can't really.
Okay, we'll just add that as a
Thank you.
condition.
Okay.
That's what we
And the
expect.
well
Yeah.
aspect.
Okay, if we can do that, we can vote on this. Was there anything else?
Just want to make sure that the well is part of a condition.
I think we said that.
Yes.
Yep, you do have.
The
that.
well is in there. It has to, before the final approval,
Right,
it has to be done.
right.
Anything else? So now do we call for a vote?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'd like to call for a vote on this. Do we have a motion? Actually, do we have a motion? To approve, a motion to approve this conditional use permit.
I move to approve the conditional use permit for requesting an RV park at 510 Madrona Avenue.
and say, based on the findings in the staff report,
based on the findings in the staff report
discussion at the meeting.
and the discussion at the meeting with the conditions.
And we need some kind of authority to, for Joseph with the tape, Greg, and me to do this. Otherwise, we need to bring the findings back to you because these are a mess. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at sorting a mess, but I don't want the sole responsibility.
Okay, so with the permission for Joseph Harrison, Greg Thielen, and Crystal Shoji to
Organize the conditions.
organize the conditions
At the meeting.
based on our discussion. That is the longest motion.
Is that
ever.
okay?
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Commissioner Burnt has seconded.
Commissioner Burnt.
Any discussion? Commissioner Lawton,
Yes.
Commissioner Head,
Yes.
Commissioner Lovendall,
Yes.
Commissioner Burnt,
Yes.
Commissioner Thielen is a yes.
Okay.
Okay. We're done here. We've got to finish this meeting up and so city planner comments? Planning commission comments? Public considerations? Next meeting is January 9th at 3:30 PM. It's adjourned. Thank you all.